Honda Civic Hybrid isn't flashy. It's not bold or ostentatious. It's a car with a smooth, efficient powertrain, a classy interior, and timeless looks. It's a car that will get the job done, very comfortably and very well, and not call much attention to itself in the process. Yet even though the Civic Hybrid isn't intrinsically attention-seeking, all of those things combine to make it one of the most attention-getting cars on the market. And that's because it's so revolutionarily good.
This is the 2025 Honda Civic Sport Touring Hybrid, considered by many to be one of the best new normal cars you can buy. And I'm Alanis King. Let's go for a drive and stick around for the end of this video to get this Civic's full report card.
The Honda Civic has a long history. The car launched in 1972, right as the demand for smaller, more fuel-efficient cars spiked due to rising fuel prices and the oil crisis. That means the car turned 50 years old recently. The Civic name alluded to Honda's goal for the car, which was for it to appeal to citizens and cities. If I knew you'd giggle instead of groan, I would make a Civic Duty joke right here. The Civic's body style has gone from boxy to smooth to trapezoidal, and in 2003, the car took a huge step forward. It was offered as a hybrid in America for the first time. That car got 40 miles per gallon combined and had a base price of $19,550 American dollars. Now, more than 20 years later, the Civic Hybrid is still here, and it is so good.
The Civic Hybrid is indicative of our new reality, which is electrified commuter cars. And it is a really good reality too. Hybrid technology is more mainstream, more affordable, and better than ever. And that is evidenced by the Civic itself. When the original Civic Hybrid came around in 2003, it got 40 mpg combined and started at the equivalent of $34,000. This starts at $29,000 and gets 49 mpg combined. The Civic Hybrid also has another big benefit, and that is it does not need to be plugged in. This car charges while the engine is on and the car is driving, unlike a plug-in hybrid, which you would actually plug in. Now, you don't get the electric-only range that you would on a plug-in hybrid, but still, you get a big efficiency boost in this car over a normal gas car.
In the 2025 model year in America, there are two Civic body styles, a hatchback and a sedan. Between them, every trim is front-wheel drive and about half of them are hybrid. We'll just focus on the sedan for now. The bottom two trims are the LX and Sport, and they're gas only. The top two trims are the Sport Hybrid and Sport Touring Hybrid, which start at $28,950 and $31,950 respectively. They share a 200 horsepower hybrid system and a very unique transmission setup.
This Honda Civic Sport Touring Hybrid has a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine and a 2-motor hybrid system, which makes 200 horsepower and 232 pound-feet of torque. And there's nothing really wild going on up here. All the magic with this powertrain is hidden back here, but we'll talk about that in a second. First, I want to talk about how important those power and torque numbers are. So, Honda's Halo Civic is the Honda Civic Type R. It makes 315 horsepower and comes only with a 6-speed manual transmission. Honda advertises this as the most powerful non-Civic Type R ever in the Civic lineup, and that's accurate because the Honda Civic Si, which is the sporty trim below the Type R, makes 200 horsepower and 192 pound-feet of torque. That is less than this. So I briefly mentioned all of those hidden powertrain components that we can't just see opening the hood, and that's what I want to talk about now. Traditionally, a car transfers power from the engine to the drive wheels through a transmission, but hybrid powertrains offer automakers a lot of flexibility for the definition of a transmission. For the driver, it's the exact same thing. You just pop it in drive and you go. But there's a lot of cool stuff happening inside this car when you do that? The Civic Hybrid uses Honda's two-motor hybrid system, and it has a few main components. We have the gasoline engine, which helps supply power to the electrical components. We have two electric motors and a power unit and a control unit. Those two electric motors do different things. One of them is an electric generator that helps supply power to the hybrid battery. The other is a propulsion motor which drives the front wheels. The Honda Civic Hybrid has 3 modes of transferring power. The first mode is EV drive mode, and this happens at low speeds and from a stop. In this mode, the gas engine is not on. You are entirely electric, and this is super common on hybrid vehicles. Our second mode is hybrid drive mode. That is when the gas engine kicks on. But the gas engine is actually playing backup, either by supplying charge to the battery or giving extra power to the propulsion motor that is driving the wheels. And our third and final mode is engine drive mode. This happens at medium to high speeds. And in this mode, the engine is on. And what it is doing is basically directly supplying power to the front wheels through the hybrid drive system and a thing called a lockup clutch. Not only does that hybrid system lead to a really smooth driving experience, but also modern Hondas have some of my favorite driver assistance systems on the market. Driver assistance systems use all kinds of inputs to tell a car what is around it. And one of the ones I love talking about is thermal sensing systems. Our partner Magna makes all kinds of driver assistance technology, including thermal sensing. Magna's thermal sensing system detects pedestrians, animals, and more, and it helps drivers see up to 4 times the headlight range. The system uses an infrared camera on the front of the vehicle, and the camera is sensitive to temperature differences of less than 1/10 of a degree. The system can detect animals, pedestrians, and cyclists more than 100 meters ahead of the vehicle. And it can give drivers a picture of the road even in total darkness, fog, smog, or smoke. Thermal cameras don't see visible light, so the system goes unaffected by headlights from oncoming vehicles or glare from the sun. All of this from a lens the size of a quarter. Because Magna's thermal sensing system can see through glare and fog, it can use that information to auto-emergency brake in circumstances not possible with visual sensors alone. There's also a thermal spotlight function, which illuminates detected pedestrians and animals for the driver, alerting them without taking their attention off the road. The better your vehicle can see what's around it, the safer we all are on the road. Magna's helping make that happen, and we're so happy to be able to learn and teach you about it. Since this is the top sport touring hybrid Civic sedan trim, it starts at $31,950. And this car did not have a window sticker in it, so I cannot tell you the exact options on it. What I can tell you is the basics. This paint is called Blue Lagoon Pearl. It is a $455 charge. The interior is gray. That's standard, and the wheels are the standard wheels on the sport touring hybrid trim. This paint color, plus the fees, brings this car to $33,500. I do really like this Blue Lagoon Pearl paint, but I don't know if I would personally spec it on the current Civic. And that is because the styling of the current Civic is very, very tame. I think it looks great, but I also think it's styling that will look great in 15 years because it's not particularly daring. And I think when you have tame styling, you need a wild exterior color. And your options on the sedan are red. And that is free. That is not even an upcharge. You can just paint it red without $455 extra. If you want some other cool paint colors, you will have to go for the Civic Hybrid Hatchback. It has 2 extra colors that I think are really cool. One of them is Sand Dune Pearl, which is $455, and the other is Boost Blue, which is also $455. Boost Blue was made popular on the Civic Type R, and it is really, really good. So get that. To me, the current Civic styling is like a pair of combat boots. They are not the most visually thrilling choice, and they're not gonna have all your friends going, wow, you got those on. But they're also not going to have all your friends making fun of you in 15 years because you had those on. The truth is, in 15 years, you'll still be wearing them, and they'll still look good, and they'll still meet that basic need, just like the Civic. Before driving the car, we have to ask the most important question, which is, how many Atlantises fit in this Honda Civic Sport Touring Hybrid's trunk. Now, I'm gonna get myself in here, and we're also gonna see if I can lock the keys in the trunk with me, or if it'll pop back open. Here we go. Oh! Oh, no, you cannot lock your keys in this trunk. And because it's a Civic trunk and it's huge, I'm saying to Atlantis. It's time to drive the Honda Civic Hybrid. But before we talk about how it drives, we're going to talk about the interior and the comfort features in this car. This is a beautiful interior. It follows the classic Civic formula. We have the toggle air vent controls, the honeycomb vents, the herringbone pattern around the shifter, the infotainment screen that sticks up from the dash, and the physical buttons. It's all really, really good. And my favorite part of the classic Civic interior is the herringbone pattern, because a lot of automakers put piano black where this herringbone pattern around the shifter would be. Piano black is cheap. Suppliers make a lot of it, so it's easy to get, but it gets really, really nasty. It gets scratched up, dust, hair, everything. This herringbone pattern feels similar, honestly. It has that same plasticky feel, but it looks prettier, it doesn't get nasty and dirty, and it's just elegant and it's different, and I really, really like it. Overall, this is a beautiful interior. It's a Civic interior, but the best Civic interior, if that makes sense. You have the soft leathers on the seats, and the seats are really comfortable. You have the soft leather on the steering wheel. Everything looks very classy, and it looks so much more expensive than this car is. The hybrid starts at $29,000. I would assume this one is in the $33,000 to $35,000 range, and it is so nice for that price. I mean, you just don't really get much else on the market that has this pretty of an interior for a decent price. The Kia Sorento Hybrid is one of those. I really like that car, but wow, it's nice in here. You also get a ton of use out of this car and its interior. You saw the massive trunk that I climbed in earlier. The interior is great, comfortable, fits a lot of people. I think the one thing that I would change about the inside of this car is right here. I would do a panoramic glass roof, but I also understand that this is a $33,000 car, and there's no way you're getting a panoramic glass roof in a $33,000 car. That is a ridiculous ask, but it would be awesome. The light gray interior in here is almost white, and it feels very high class and really nice. One thing I hope doesn't happen, because this light gray interior is very common right now for automakers, something I really don't want to happen is it gets overused, and over the next 10 years or so, we start associating this light gray interior with just icky. You know, I kind of feel like that happened with light gray cloth interiors. I hope that doesn't happen with light gray leather interiors, because this is so pretty right now, and I would hate for it to go down that path. There are so many just nice features on the inside of this car. The shifter is really thunky. It feels good quality. The headliner is color matched. It's black. You often see a light gray headliner in cars because it's cheaper and easier, honestly, and it would work in here because of the light gray seats. But it's so nice to have this black headliner in here. It just looks really classy. It all looks so good. The infotainment screen in this car sticks up from the dash. It has physical buttons and it's a touchscreen, and I have never had an issue with it. It's super easy to use. I've never had it glitch or mess up or do anything like that on me. It's pretty good. There are only a couple of issues I've run into inside this interior. One of them is that while I love the styling and I love this center console area on the Civic, if you start whacking it, you can probably hear how cheap that sounds. It sounds just very thin and very cheap. So people aren't just gonna get in your car and whack this. But you do know that it's not a super solid material. You have that hard black plastic right here, just like you have hard black plastic on the door cards. So there are some places where money has been saved on this interior, but I mean, it's a $33,000 car. What do you expect? You're getting a lot. The other thing that I don't love about this car is that in the back seat, you don't have the comfort features that you would like. I picked someone up the other day and they got in the back seat and they were like, oh, it's so hot back here. Yeah, it's hot back there. There are no vents. So when you're up front, you just have to blast the air for it to reach them. So you're cold in the front, They're hot in the back. Nobody's happy because there aren't vents back there. But that's really the only snag you're gonna run into. Now it's time to talk about how this car drives. And the driving experience in this car is so good. It's one of my favorite things about this car. And that's because it has such a smoothness that you really only get from an electric powertrain or a hybrid powertrain. When you're typically in a gas-powered commuter car that is not hybrid and it has very average power, you're gonna hit the gas pedal and it's going to give this little grunt. It's gonna go up to speed, and it's just not very classy or nice feeling. It just feels like a commuter car because that's what it is. And in this car, you have that low-end EV mode, and it is amazing because when you're going really slowly or you're accelerating from a standstill and you're not just pushing the accelerator pedal to the moon, you have that EV mode and the acceleration is so smooth and so elasticy, and you do not have the sound of the engine just grunting. Now, the Civic Hybrid is not fast, but it is quick. It gets up to speed, and quick is all most people need. People don't need fast cars. This has more torque than the Honda Civic Si, and I know a lot of people watching this video have a Honda Civic Si. This is a decently powerful car that gets up to speed, and it's really all most people need, or all anyone needs. People just want more. In this car, the suspension feels really nice. It smooths out the road bumps. Obviously, you can feel them, but you don't feel jolted by them. It's a comfortable ride. The wind noise and road noise, I find in Civics is a little high. So when you're on a rough road, you will really know because you can hear it. And also in high speeds, you will hear the wind. But again, this is a $33,000 car that's really good. So if you have a little wind and road noise, can you really complain? No. Another thing I absolutely love about modern Hondas is their adaptive cruise control and lane keep assist. I'm on a 2-lane road right now with some really faint road markings. It still picks it up. It still does just fine with it. And it's just so nice when you have a modern car to be able to use adaptive cruise control and lane keep assist and not have to put in the minute little inputs while you're driving down the highway. It's just relaxing. It's a good convenience to have. Of course, you still have to pay full attention to the road and you have to keep your hands on the wheel, but it's so cool to not have to make those tiny little movements yourself. And modern Hondas are really good with adaptive cruise control and lane keep assist. The bottom line with this car is that it is a low to mid $30,000 hybrid vehicle with an extremely smooth and efficient powertrain that just makes you feel elegant and makes you feel like you made the right purchase. And that is incredible for the price. Given the fact that the price of everything just continues to go up, to be able to get this is pretty good. Now that we've driven the 2025 Honda Civic Sport Touring Hybrid Sedan, it's time to give it a grade. Welcome to Alanis's report card. The exterior on this car gets an A-. Just like these combat boots, it's tame, but it's gonna look really good in 20 years. The interior gets a B+, and I'm being kind of harsh here. 1, because I think there's too much piano black on that interior, and 2, because it lacks some of the rear seat comfort features that I would like. When I picked someone up the other day and I had to put them in the back seat, they were like, oh, it's so hot back here, because there are no vents, so I had to blast the air in the front seat just for them to be comfortable. The interior styling is amazing. Some of the functionality doesn't quite live up to my expectations. The performance on this car gets an A-, and that is in the context of the fact that this is a Civic Hybrid and it drives so smoothly and so well. I am only taking away points because the brake pedal is a little squishy, and if you're a car enthusiast, which I think a lot of car enthusiasts will end up buying this car, you'll be pressing that brake and going, that does not feel super great. Value on this car is an A+, and I don't think I've ever given out an A+ in my report card before, but I had to make an excuse to do it today because the Civic Hybrid is a better value today than it was when it came out, and it is perhaps the best value new car on the market. I have not seen a better value. Would I take this car on a road trip? Absolutely, I would. It's comfortable. I would just try to stay out of the back seat. And overall, it gets an A-. This is a great car. There are just a couple of mundane styling options, and there aren't a lot of paint options on the sedan, but it's so, so good. And if you buy it and you're buying a new car, you're not going to be making a mistake.
The Honda Civic will never be the flashiest, boldest, or most ostentatious vehicle on the road, and it's never tried to be. But the new Civic Hybrid is so good that if you're in the market for a brand new, normal car, it'll probably be at the top of your list. And as a volume seller, that's exactly where it's meant to be.
We are in a golden era of hybrid commuter cars, and the Civic Hybrid is at the top of the list. That may not sound like the most exciting thing in the world, but if you are in the market for a new car, I can assure you it is.